why did I ask to move and go to a different host family? So, I lived in the United States for 1 year to study in high school. And because I was a minor and everything, I had to live with a host family. And at first, I was placed with a host family that was supposed to be my temporary host family. And then after about a month, I moved to the family that was supposed to be my permanent host family. But I didn't like a few things about my supposed to be permanent host family. And now I'll tell you the reasons why I asked to move back to my previous host family. So, I got dropped off at their house. It was a Saturday or a Sunday. I remember it was on the weekend. So, I got there, and right off the bat, the first thing that caught my eye that I didn't really like was that my room was inside their daughter's bedroom. So basically, to get into my bedroom, I had to go through their daughter's bedroom, and then from there was a door that led to my bedroom. The problem was that it was a little bit weird to me, to be honest, to have a room that was inside someone else's room. But I guess I would have been fine if me and this girl, they got along. But honestly, I don't have any recollection of this girl ever talking to me. And quite frankly, I'm a very talkative person. I can talk to anyone. But with this girl, I just couldn't talk to her because she wouldn't let me in, basically. She was my age, so I thought that it would have been nice that we would get along. But it was nothing like that. She never talked to me. She never cared about me. She didn't seem to want me there or anything. She didn't go to school because her mom told me that she was a germaphobe, so she wouldn't go to school because of that. And yeah, just an all-out weird situation. But okay, it was my first day there, so I just brushed it off. And honestly, from what I remember, we didn't have any problems regarding to that. It was just a very awkward situation for me because I didn't get along with this girl, and I had to be going in and out of her room every time I wanted to, go out to eat, go to the bathroom, or do anything outside of my bedroom. So it was a little bit weird, but okay. And then the second thing that happened on that first day was that we went to have lunch, and then I sat on the table with a few other people, 5 people or something, and we were all there eating. And to me, mealtime is a time that you take to talk to the people who are on the table with you, talk with your family, and that was my experience. And I get that not everyone is like that, but I was sitting at the table with these 5 other people, and then they just finished eating, and I hadn't finished yet, but they just got up and left. They didn't tell me anything, they just left me alone at the table, and it was my first day there, and I was just trying to, meet them, talk to them, or whatever. And they just left me alone at the table, So that was really weird to me, I felt low-key rude. And then the third thing that jumped out to me, I think maybe it was the worst thing, is that they didn't have Wi-Fi. And I really needed Wi-Fi to do schoolwork, to talk to my family, because when I arrived there, I got a new phone. And since I was only going to stay for 1 year, I didn't get the best phone, right? I got a flip phone and also my carrier plan, it was a cheap one as well, because at my previous house I had Wi-Fi, and at school I couldn't even use my phone. So I didn't really have a reason to have a really expensive phone plan that was going to give me a lot of internet. So I talked to them hey, I really needed Wi-Fi, and the host dad said, oh, okay, I see. And then he asked me what he had to do, and I said, look, you need to get a modem, basically, so you can get the Wi-Fi signal throughout the house and everything. So he said, oh, okay. But spoiler alert, they never got it. I stayed there for I think 3 to 4 weeks, and they never got Wi-Fi. So on that Monday, I got there on a Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember exactly, but I had to go to school, of course, and they had already agreed with me that I was supposed to be walking to school, and that was fine because I was already doing that at my previous house, and this house was actually closer to my school than my previous one was. But at my previous one, I had a host brother who would walk with me, so I wasn't going by myself. It was the first time I was walking to school by myself, and I got lost. I didn't really get lost. I just got kind of desperate because I got to the spot where I thought I was already supposed to see the school, and I didn't see it. So I thought I was lost, and I started freaking out. And I was 17 in a country that wasn't my own. I was already fluent in English. There's no one on the sidewalk in the U.S., so there was no one for me to ask. There were just cars driving by. I didn't have an iPhone where I could just pull up Google Maps and just check where my school was. Yeah, so I got freaked out. I got really desperate, and I called my host dad because I knew him, and I asked him to go pick me up. And he had the ugliest face at me. He was just looking at me I hate you. I cannot believe that you called me to come pick you up. I just felt really, really bad. And I just kept apologizing over and over again, and he kept saying that it was okay, but really his face just told me that he was so pissed at me. There was another thing that I didn't particularly like about this family, and that was that they had dinner while watching TV. So they would just grab their plates and they would all be sitting. It was a couple and a daughter. And honestly, there's no right or wrong here. I know that each family does their own thing. There's nothing particularly wrong about having meals watching TV rather than having it while sitting at a table. But to me personally, I didn't like that because I was already used to having like a family time while having my meals. And to me, especially as an international student, I felt like that dinner time was basically the only time that I had to connect with my family, because it was the one time that we were all gathered in the same place. So I would have liked that time of the day to be a time where I would get to know them better and they would get to know me, but that never happened because we would just be looking at the TV and we wouldn't be talking at all. So I never really felt a connection to them. And this was completely different than the experience I had had at my previous host family. Like at my previous host family, during dinner, I would be talking to my host mom, especially like for an hour or two after dinner was done. We would just talk so much and we had built like a real connection. And with this new family, like I just couldn't connect to them. And also they smoked, like the two adults, they smoked, and I hate cigarettes. And I'm saying all this, but I don't mean any disrespect to this family. You know, if they ever get to watch this, which they most likely won't ever, but they weren't bad people by any means. You know, it was just that their way of living was different than what I would prefer and what I was already used to. But none of these reasons, honestly, like not even all of them all together, would be strong enough for me to ask to move to a different host family. Like it needs to be something a little more serious than that, than just like oh, I don't really like them, you know, I don't really feel a connection because of this and that. And I understood that, and I probably would have not asked to move out if it wasn't for the fact that I had already had a host family prior to that, and I felt much, much better at my previous host family's house. So what I did is I sent an email to my coordinator, and I asked her if she would please ask my previous host family if they would take me back. And they said yes, that they would take me back, and I was very, very happy. Like I was at school. And then when I got back into the house, she already knew that I was moving out of her house, and like I didn't want it to be that way, like because since I was at school, I wasn't checking my email, so I didn't already know that I was going to be able to go back to my previous host family's house. And I also didn't just want to go up to them and be like, oh hey, so yeah, I asked to go back to my previous host family because I didn't really like living here. Like I just thought that would have been like completely weird, and I didn't want like any awkward situation just in case I was not going to be able to go back to my previous host family's house. So I was going to tell them, but I was going to tell them after I had a yes from my previous host family. But my coordinator had already told her, and she knew, and it was fine. Honestly, like they were cool about it, and I told them like, you know, there wasn't anything wrong. Like you're not bad people. It's just that I felt better at my previous host family's house because their style of living is more in terms of what my style of living is as well. And honestly, I'm really glad that I said something because this host family that I ended up staying with them for the rest of the year, they are amazing. I'm still in contact with them. They are incredible people, and I've already gone to visit them twice already, like ever since my exchange program. And so my advice, if any of you is watching this to get some advice on how to act with your host family or what to expect with your host family, is don't be afraid to speak it up. Don't be afraid to ask for things that you need. Don't be afraid to talk to your coordinator and tell them what's going on and why you're not liking a particular host. And talk to your host family as well. And yeah, just don't be shy and don't like hold back on saying things that are important to you. I think that as a teenager and saying at, you know, someone else's house, we may feel, you know, restrained in a way, like, oh, I don't want to say like certain things, but really you have to speak up and you have to let them know what's going on, what's going through your mind, and if you're liking it or not. And yeah, but living in the US is amazing. Having a host family is amazing. So I just wanted to share this experience to anyone who's maybe wanting to go to the US and what you may be expecting. And yeah, so in the same city, there were two families that were completely different from each other. And yeah, I was lucky enough that I was able to go back to the house that I preferred, and we had a great time, and it was amazing. So yeah, don't be afraid to stay with a family. They're great, honestly. And you're probably going to have I'll catch you guys in the next one.